So I wanted to start there as kind of the backdrop to as we go further with this episode. One of the very first questions that I asked Neil right from the start was, why did we go from the model of assistant sales manager, salaried position in the organization, to a selling manager, a position where you are selling 70% of the time and managing 30% of the time? Why did we go from a model that was tried and true that seemed to work for us to this new model that just seemed so radically different? And Neil does a really good job after he kind of laid the groundwork of the why from an industry perspective into why from an Art Van perspective.
I am a huge sports fan. I think anybody that has spent any time with me knows um, I love any sport, and I started to think about um, this new role and what could we do, and tie it to right now the NBA playoffs are going on, and the Golden State Warriors are as close to a dynasty as we've seen since the Boston Celtics. And one of the things that they've advocated for the last 5 years is positionless basketball, and essentially saying that any player on the court can take responsibility for delivering a positive outcome for the team, regardless of what the name of their former position was. So guards don't play like guards did 10 years ago. The center position doesn't play like the center position did 10 years ago. And all of this radical change in basketball came about because they figured out the rules changed. They added a 3-point line. And now all of a sudden, the center position became devalued because you got all these players out there popping from 3-point land that are more efficient being able to play the game because they're taking advantage of a rule change that gives you 3 points instead of two every time you put the ball through the hoop. So when you start to think about positionless basketball and then pull that analog into what we're doing, we're really saying that in this world where there is incredible competition for the customer, where there's incredible transparency and ease of shopping. I mean, when you buy on the internet from most of these guys, it's free delivery and free returns. That's just a business model where the barriers of entry have been removed. Well, why would you ever fear buying something on the internet if you know you can return it for free? So a lot of these changes in the rules have set us up to where we have to adapt, very similar to how the Warriors adapted and then took the world by storm and have set up a dynasty. That's my vision right now for us is let's adapt to the new rules. Let's do it better than anybody else does. And let's go out there and win like crazy and win with our guests every single time, creating a different level of experience, utilizing and embracing all of the changes that have occurred, a more robust social relationship through clienteling, a more robust internet website experience, and absolutely a more robust experience in the showroom that acknowledges 65 or 70% of our guests have already pre-shopped online and are coming in with some level. They're already in the process of making their purchase decision. So this role for us really became the key to kind of positionless selling experience, if you will, where we create a flexible model that allows for these leaders to manage for a percentage of their work week, which allows them to influence sales across the entirety of the showroom and all guest experiences. They also are selling for themselves, so they get firsthand experience around what that guest experience is actually looking like. Where are the roadblocks? What kind of questions are we getting? How easy is it for us to go from the introduction to the thank you at the end of the process and all the challenges that go on in between? And they're able to lead by example on the showroom floor to be able to say, with all of the new ideas that we have and tools that we have, like clienteling and Art Vantage and ability to create whole room solutions, all of these things coming together, they're able to model how that works in real time with our guests, and then help us identify if there are any gaps in our selling process. And so when you think about the flexibility that gives us to move between manager and seller and manager, what it really does is it creates this hybrid approach that allows us to play kind of positionless retail, where we don't care if she touches the brand or buys from us online, in store, or through some other mechanic socially. Long term, what we want to make sure is that she buys from Art Van. And then at the end of the day, we want to make sure that all of our sellers, all of our professional sellers, get credit for those sales. So the selling manager role is key to all of those things that we want to unlock in the future. And that's what's got me so excited about the role, is because it's less defined and more adaptive. So as we need to change strategies to meet our guests' requirements, we have much more flexibility to be able to do it.
One of the things that I was really curious about was, traditionally we've always viewed assistant managers and outlet managers kind of on the same level from a hierarchical perspective. And one of the things that I was really curious about was, why did we change assistant manager roles, but we didn't change outlet manager roles? And Neil lays out kind of his vision of how the outlet manager fits into a grander vision of literally salaried management being able to take care of those managerial responsibilities at a full-time pace, so that the selling managers are able to play that flexible position that he talks about. Here's what Neil had to say in regards to outlet managers and the role they play. And he also talks about operations managers and the role they play as well.
Because that outlet manager is part of the management team, and that's specifically their role as part of the management team, they enable us to have that flexibility at the selling manager position. And that was the leverage point that kind of unlocks the selling manager role. So the way I view the foundational management team, including the outlet manager, is they create the base that allows us then to have the flexibility for a selling manager to identify when they're going to be in a management role, when they're going to be in a selling role, when they're in a mentor role, or when they're doing some combination of all of that. So I view the outlet manager, and really all of the managers. We also promoted in the back office our supervisors to an operations manager, which gives us a foundational management team that then allows us the flexibility to really deploy these selling managers in the most effective way, and gives our showroom managers flexibility for when they need to have them working as a manager or working as a seller on the floor.